different prep lists and produce prep lists. That's where keep this produce that needs to be isolated from everything else.
Hey everybody, Mr. Knife Fanatic here. Today we have the Murata 165mm Western Nakiri. These knives are fairly new to the website, offer a unique finish with a Karuchi blade and Western handle, and also have a core steel that's a little bit harder to find. So as usual, here's the specs and cutting performance. We have blue number 1 or Hitachi Aogami number 1 steel, which is a little bit harder to find, as I said before, hardened to 61 to 63 Rockwell. This is a little bit harder than blue number 2 because it has a little bit more carbon and a little bit more tungsten, but not as much as Aogami Super. Takes a very, very good edge, very refined edge, steep edge, and holds it for a long time. We have a Karuchi finish on this blade. This reminds me a bit of a Murata finish, but a little bit smoother, a little bit more polished, and actually has a really good convex. So we get into the grind here. I'll actually get into that a little bit more later when we talk about the grind. This does happen to be coated with a little bit of lacquer. I do see this on some Karuchi blades. Not all have it. This can be removed with a little bit of light acetone, or actually just through normal use it will come off. We have a black packawood handle. This is common on a lot of Japanese knives. Very, very resistant to moisture. This is very tough and durable. This very tough handle feels very solid in the hand. Very good. Fit and finish overall on this knife, I would rate it to be somewhere around Tojiro. It's not particularly a very high level fit of finish, but there is a high level of craftsmanship built into this blade. I know that sounds a little bit different, but this knife is a little bit more rustic, as I said, closer to a Murata in a way, the way the Karuchi has been done, and just the overall rustic look of the knife. But in the hand, it has an extremely solid feel. This thing was built by somebody who knew what they were doing very well. This knife will be put to use in a pro environment and do extremely well. I love the feel of this in the hand, and I actually can't wait to chop with it. So the length is 165 millimeters, just as advertised, and 51 millimeters tall. This is actually a great height for a Nakiri. I like anything 50 millimeters and maybe a little bit above. This is actually ideal for what I prefer, and maybe a lot of other people as well. It is a little bit on the, I would say, closer to tall side, but that's actually what you're looking for in most Nakiris. Spine thickness coming out of the tang, 2.4 millimeters. It actually holds this thickness to about this far into the blade, and you do get a quick distal taper, and it goes down to 2 millimeters and under, and you're actually, I would say, about 1.8 to 1.7 closer to the tip. Fairly thin overall, actually. I would consider it to be medium weight at 188 grams. Definitely not the lightest weight Nakiri out there, but has a great balance point. I'll go ahead and show that to you right now. Right there, perfectly on your pinch grip. So this thing feels very, very light in the hand. You'll be able to use this with low fatigue. And it should have very good chopping power. Still at 188 grams, gives you a little bit of extra power when you're going through ingredients. 50-50 grind, convex, a little bit closer to a Scandi grind, and at the top of the Karuchi here is more flat, and then the convex starts down here. I guess you would call this a mid or low convex. But basically, I like to call it a mix between a Scandi and a convex. You can call it what you like, but I hope that gives you an idea of what it is. So it should have decent non-stick properties and do quite well cutting. Oh, here we are. Get some ingredients on the board. We'll start off with an onion. I'll dice one half and chop the other half. A little bit about the profile before we start. As you can see, there is a gentle sweep throughout the entire blade. We also have the rounded tip here. A little tip to you, if you ever get a Nakiri that is square on both sides and you would like to round the front tip so you can rock with it, simply take it to your sharpening stone and grind it and make it round yourself. No problem with modifying a knife a little bit if you have the equipment. But as you can see here, with the very slight curve, it's going to be very good for chopping. I'm not going to have to worry about digging the heel. Here we go, guys. And I expect this to do very well, by the way. It is very, very thin behind the edge. This convex comes to a nice, very paper thin right behind the edge. This should slide right through. And it does. Excellent. Very good. Wow, ooh, stuck into the board. As you can see there, very clean, all the releases. The convex was done excellent. As I said before, a very high level of craftsmanship built into this knife, despite the rustic fit and finish, which I actually think looks very attractive. So, see how she chops. Ooh, very nice. Kind of missed one right back there. The balance point's really, really nice. It's very solid in the hand. For a clad knife, this thing feels excellent. We say sometimes clad knives lose a little bit of feeling. I really, really like the feel of this one. It's a very solid feel, very sure feel in the hand. There we are. Let's go ahead and chop this one. Got some onions on the floor there. Very, very nice. Excellent food penetration. Once it gets through the body of the blade, there's no wedging whatsoever. Sometimes on Karuchi knives, you do tend to worry about a little bit of wedging. There's none whatsoever. This thing is so nice and thin, and that convex was done so smoothly. Very high level of craftsmanship. That is something that is usually you don't see on so many Karuchi knives. I will say there are more Karuchi knives hitting the market. Masakage has one out, and I know some other brands where they're offering Karuchi knives with a higher level of fit and finish and higher level of craftsmanship. Generally, these used to be your cheaper blades, but you know, it's taken off in popularity, and now they're going to use their better blacksmiths to make these blades. And I mean, this thing is just solid as can be. I love the feel of it. And we were talking about the gentle sweep here. I'm going to show you that you can chop with all parts of the knife with no trouble. Steering of the knife is straight up and down. They did a great job on making sure the grind was even on both sides, so it is truly 50-50. There we go. We'll break this down into a couple of different piles. Chop with the tip and I'll work my way down. And as you can see, every bit of that knife is making board contact. Very, very nice. Now, I will say, food release is still plenty acceptable on this knife. I think on a knife with a higher polished finish, you might get a little bit smoother food release, but nothing's really sticking to the blade that bad at all. I was chopping this very thin and everything pushes off. You can see the knife's still nice and clean. Actually, we'll show you a little bit of rocking as well. This thing rocks extremely well, that nice rounded tip. Very, very smooth cutter. The edge on this is only about 2000 grit. I took the out of the box edge and just kind of roughed it up a little bit. Out of the box edge was very good. I'd give it a very high level of polish, I would say. And I prefer a little bit more toothy edge that does very well against the skin of vegetables like this. As you can see, it'll pierce right through it, no problem. A little bit about sharpening, though, I did notice it has a little bit more wear resistance than blue number 2, which is to be expected. But that also equals more edge life. I can tell you, by the way, edge feels like it hasn't done anything whatsoever. It still feels like it came off the stones. So, here we go. This knife is so very easy to use. It's just weighted so well and feels so good in the hand. This is one of these knives that you pick up and, you know, you feel like you've used it before. Just perfect weight and craftsmanship to it. So I'm going to try a few draw cuts here to show you that the edge does go all the way up to the curve here, and you can use it however you like, just like a Gyuto. And as we said before, a Nakiri might be a little bit more desirable when you're doing large volumes of prep that require a knife with no tip, or do not require a knife with a tip. Say you have a big giant case of mushrooms or strawberries or whatever it is you're cutting. Nakiri will be able to take care of most of that stuff, and you don't have the added tip weight of a Gyuto. And this is much less fatigue to use. So if you'd like to add a Nakiri to your kit and just kind of diversify some of your knives. And plus, I think Nakiris, everybody loves the look of a small cleaver. It is a very nice looking knife. Well, here we are. I'll try to just clean the board up, wrap the video up a little bit for you. Let's see, we'll do the no-hand bell pepper. I know that this thing is about thin enough to go ahead and do that. Thin enough behind the edge. Here we are. Most knives that are really nice and thin behind the edge, they'll drop through these peppers and just... I just stacked them kind of high. They were lifting on each other. If I could have spread them out a little more, it would have done cleaner. But as you can see, yes, very nice. So, excellent knife here. I'm glad we got these on the website, and I actually would be excited to see some more by this maker very shortly. Though hopefully we'll start seeing some reviews roll in. There'll be definitely good reviews. I think these knives are going to do very well for people in a pro setting that would like a very nice Karuchi knife. Very tough, very durable, very well made. So guys, thank you, stay tuned, and stay sharp.